Big Rob.
Coach Woodley, what's good, man? How you doing?
See you, brother.
You ready for this haircut?
Yeah.
Let's do it. What's going on, Coach Joey?
Oh, that you know, Rob. Just coaching ball and trying to enjoy what's left of this summer.
So, growing up, who's your inspiration that inspired you to?
Oh, I think obviously, for what I'm doing and what my path has been, I'd say for sure it was my dad. He obviously was a high school coach, college coach, all those things. But when we were younger, he had high school jobs and small college jobs, which allowed him to be around quite a bit for us, and we were able to be around him, and just seeing how he approached things day in and day out was, we all liked what we saw and what he was able to do, the lives he affected and the people he met, and it's just like you, Big Rob, I'd have never known you. My dad wasn't in the coaching profession, at least around this state. We've lived in about every area of the state, and gotten to meet a lot of people, and
How many teams did your dad coach?
So
like
he
10 or 12, somewhere around
so just kind of going all the way back, he GA'd at the University of Iowa after he got done playing at Northern Iowa, and he did that for I believe 2 years. That's where he met Coach McCarney. They were GAs together at Iowa, and then after that he took a high school job down in New Mexico, which is where my brother Matt was born. They were down there a couple years, and then he moved back to Iowa, went to go coach at his alma mater, Waterloo East. I think he was there a couple years, and he was an assistant there. He was still young, obviously, and then he got his first head job at Osage, up in North Iowa, which is where I was born. I don't remember much of it. I just know I was born there, and had a pretty successful 3 or 4 year run at Osage, and then he wanted to kind of see what he was made of, move up to 4A football. I guess I don't even know if it was 4A back then or 3A, whatever it was, Fort Dodge, and that's probably when I started to kind of remember a lot of things from my childhood. Was when we moved to Fort Dodge, and of course, it's where I met you and a lot of other good folks from a great town. And certainly I'll always consider myself a little bit of a Dodger. I know we weren't there real long, but very prideful community, and there's still a lot of people there that I know and stay in touch with, and some of the better people I know in life.
The whole city know you guys.
Just definitely a lot of people I know in life. Some of the really loyal and great ones are from Fort Dodge, and then he was a head coach there for about 4 or maybe 5 years, and then we moved to Davenport on the eastern side of the state, and he took a small college job there as his initial job was defensive coordinator, and he was actually defensive coordinator and head baseball coach. Times have certainly changed.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he was in that role for a couple of years, and then the head job came open, and then he was the head football coach at St. Ambrose, and me, Matt, and Andy, and my brother Brian was actually in school at St. Ambrose. We were over there in the Catholic schools, Davenport, Assumption. Matt and Andy both went to Assumption. I was at the private elementary schools in Davenport, and that was more of a mom thing. My mom wanted that, and it was obviously a really good move, I thought, for us to be around those kind of kids, because Assumption had a lot of success in that time frame, and they're still having a lot of success athletically, and athletics have always been pretty important to our family, as you know, and then we were there for about 5 years, and then Dad decided he felt like he wanted to coach us all, and took the head job at West Des Moines Valley in 1994. Coached my brother Matt, and Andy for a fall, and then he was hired at. Like I said, he wanted to coach us all, but didn't quite work out. well, I shouldn't say it didn't work out. Had a successful year he was only the head coach at Valley for about 4 months. And then Coach McCarney, which I mentioned earlier, they GA'd together at Iowa back in the day. Coach McCarney, my dad was one of, if not his first hire, when he got the job at Iowa State in 1994, and that was pretty much our last move, because Dad commuted from Des Moines to Ames every day. He didn't want to move me one more time, and
Right.
and I'll always appreciate that about him, because I was at a pretty good school at Valley. We were pretty successful in all sports, and again, like I said, that was important to us, and obviously had created a nucleus of good friends, good people that I met there, and then I was fortunate enough, a handful of years later, I did end up getting to go play for him, and Coach McCarney offered me a scholarship to go to Iowa State. Went there, played for 5 years. Part of really successful teams. Probably one of the more, as of late, obviously, Coach Campbell's kind of taken the place to a new level. But when we were there, Iowa State was not associated with winning, or before we got there, and was able to play in 3 bowl games there. We won the first bowl game in school history.
Y'all beat Nebraska.
Yeah, beat Nebraska once, and that was when Nebraska was Nebraska.
Right.
They're kind of a shell of what they used to be nowadays. So after I got done playing, that's kind of when I decided I wanted to become a coach. And
what was your highlight at Iowa State?
no, yeah, I mean it's always that Iowa game. It's important to so many people in this state, and I'll give Coach McCarney credit with that. He made that game important. It really wasn't a rivalry for 15 years. Iowa beat Iowa State for 15 years in a row, and everybody thought it was impossible considering where Iowa State's program was at. But Coach Mack made that a priority pretty early on in his career, and and then in 1998, I was a senior. Iowa was a 27-point favorite over Iowa State, and Cyclones went over there, blocked a couple punts. Darren Davis got loose on the ground, and Iowa State beat them. I want to say it was 27-9, and I mean there really wasn't ever a question where I was going if I got a scholarship, but that certainly solidified that things were changing at Iowa State, and I was sitting in the stands that day, and to think a year later I'd be on the sidelines was pretty surreal. But those games are always a highlight, and more specifically to your question, it was 2002. I think a lot of fans remember that game. Iowa State, we were down.
I remember
24-7 at halftime, and didn't look good for us. I mean, Iowa was doing what they wanted, and we really didn't have much success doing anything in that first half. And we come out in the second half, turn some things on, and turn them over a couple times. And I was actually, again, getting back to your question, I scored the go-ahead touchdown in that game. Wasn't a real long one; it was about a half a yard, but still pretty memorable. And to know I had played a role in that game, because it's still talked about 20 years later, that game, and probably will continue to be talked about. And that gave us our 5th win in a row against Iowa. Again, like I said, Iowa won for 15 straight years, and we flipped it back on its head a little bit and beat the Hawkeyes 5 times in a row. So pretty cool to be a part of that. That would probably be one of the better highlights, and and again, it was being a part of a win too. Certainly some fun things we did, maybe a couple losses, but those are, I don't really call anything, if you don't win the game, I don't know how you can have a highlight. So, but I would say that one probably stands out the most.
Yeah, I still remember that like it was yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people that remember that one, I guess. I don't know why, but it was certainly a fun day. No doubt about that.
That was a good game.
Yeah.
Grandview, man. What's up with Grandview? What was your experience like that? Like just going to the big bowl every year, then you finally get that championship.
Yeah.
What is that feeling like?
Grandview is always be very thankful of that place and always have great memories of that place. And that was the place that kind of allowed me to be who I was, kind of create my own identity in this profession. And the thing that was so unique about Grandview was, they hired my dad in 2007, and we got to start the program from scratch. So any player that has been through that program, we have coached. Coached, recruited. This season will be the first season that it hasn't, since 2008, hasn't been that way. And not many coaches get to do that, especially at the college level. Start a program from nothing. Like, we ordered the first helmet, the first shoulder pads, uniforms, all that stuff. Like I said, we kind of got to create our own deal there, and I'd like to think we left that spot in a better place. When Dad left as the head coach and I became the head coach, he certainly left it in a spot for me to be successful. And again, my time, it ran its course there, and I certainly think we left it in a pretty good place for Coach Peterson over there, who's now the head coach, who I recruited. He was one of our first All-Americans we had in the program. Real proud of him, and they'll continue to do great things over there. But yeah, a lot of great memories. Coached a lot of great kids. We put an emphasis on recruiting the state of Iowa and developing those kids, and there's just a toughness and a grit to the kind of kids that are in this state. And fortunate enough to be a part of 3 national championship games and won 2 of them. And so yeah, a lot of great memories at GV, no doubt about it.
So you got 2 of them and your dad got 1?
So I was a defensive coordinator for one of the our first one, 2013. That was the first one we won. And then in my 3rd year as head coach, we made it to the championship game and lost. And then last year, my 6th year, I was the head coach again, and we won that one. So we won 2 over there. We played in 3 of them.
So what do you think your challenge is going to be this year coaching at Drake?
Oh, I just, the biggest thing is just earning the trust of our players, and really earning the trust of the coaching staff, and because there's a lot of coaches on this staff I'm working with for the first time, and that's sometimes those are things that outside people don't realize how hard that is to create that continuity, and I think for the most part, I feel really good about our staff right now. Again, I haven't coached in a game with them. When adversity strikes or something bad happens, how are we all going to respond? Those are the things that I just don't know yet. Along with the players, I just we haven't. You can't simulate that in practice. There's things that happen in practice, but they're not so final like they are in a game. You've got to move on and. Try and forget about the things that just happened and not lose your cool. And again, those are the things that we'll have to work through pretty quickly, to see what kind of team we have and what kind of staff we have. But I'm confident in the staff we brought in. All the guys that I've hired, it was, I put a lot of thought into the guys that we did hire, and they've all come from winning programs. They expect to win, and and in large part, those are the kind of kids that we recruited in this first recruiting class as well. And the good thing is Drake's coming off having a lot of success, so a lot of the kids in this program are expecting to win, and I think that's usually half the battle. That was the other intriguing thing about this job. Usually you take a new job because they've been losing or they're in bad shape. And you got to kind of teach guys how to win and how to finish out games. And again, that doesn't mean it's just going to magically happen, but I do like the fact that they've been in a lot of guys on this roster have been in close games and found ways to win. Because those things are hard to instill in guys. What's up?
Let me do your face.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Well, I'm super geek, man, to see what y'all gonna do this year.
Yeah.
Because, I've been in the Drake neighborhood for about 25 years and didn't really, because, you guys are able to recruit, like top recruits. So it's like they don't get the attention like the other colleges get as far as coming to watch the game. But
Yeah,
I think with you being a coach this year, I think you're going to pull a lot of people from the community just to see if you can duplicate what you did over there at Grandview.
yeah, well, that's kind of the plan. And again, I've lived here a long time, been a part of Central Iowa for a long time, and pretty special place to me. Met a lot of people. Sometimes I don't realize how many people I have met being here so long. Des Moines seems maybe like a big city to a lot of folks in Iowa, but when you're here as long as you are, man, it's really just it's a small town, you know. And when you're here that long, you know somebody that knows somebody or whatever, and hopefully that creates some excitement for Drake football, and because it's really good football. We get to play some top programs at the FCS level, FCS Division I level, and again, those were the things that lured me here. Just those new challenges in life, and because you only get one life, and you may as well try and make the most out of it, and get an opportunity to play in those big games, and like I said, see what you're made of. Coach against some legendary coaches, and yeah, it's just it's exciting to wake up every morning. That's for sure.
Now, it kind of runs in your family like the legacy, because your brother Matt coached at the Energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then your older brother coached at Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Then Andy he was coaching with you guys also.
Yeah. So Brian's oldest brother, he's kind of been a lifelong high school head football coach, and quite honestly, that's the path I thought I was going to go down. And things happen in life, and you kind of get some new opportunities, and you don't want to pass up what are potentially good opportunities. And then my brother Matt, he's kind of been the journeyman a little bit in our family as far as moving around. He's really he's had to make a lot of sacrifices in his career, and I don't know how many jobs he's had. He's had a lot of them, but they've all made sense. And shoot, he was just at Drake as an assistant about 5 years ago on Darren DeVries' staff, and now he's out at Wake Forest, as the top assistant out there, and they're having a lot of success out there. And and then Andy, as you mentioned, he was a high school basketball coach for a number of years, won a state title over at City High back in 2008, and I think he was probably smarter than all of us. He kind of dabbles in the coaching side of things right now, but he's also kind of an entrepreneur, as you know, Rob, and but he continues to help me with some things on a part-time basis at Drake as well as he did at Grandview, and he was pretty key piece of why we had some success there, just with the help that he gives me. So yeah, it's been a coaching journey. There's no doubt about that. And again, you're always trying to. I'm the baby of the boys, so yeah, always trying to. I don't know if impress is the right word, but I guess kind of make those guys proud, because those guys were kind of my idols and heroes growing up. So you're always trying to strive for that.
So what was that growing up, being a little guy, being picked on? Now you the big guy. What's that like?
I got my ass whipped growing up. There ain't no doubt about that. And by the time I was big enough to get back after them, we were probably a little too mature. And then, probably wasn't a good thing. Somebody probably had really gotten hurt. But yeah, I'd love a few minutes in the ring with those guys. Just for fun, maybe do a pay-per-view on it or something like that. But no, they were tough on me. But I think that's kind of what's what prepared me, to be have a successful career in high school as an athlete, and then of course in college, all the things that we did growing up. Because I don't think I ever won a thing growing up. They didn't let me. So that's why winning and all that motivates me so much. Because I didn't do much of it growing up in that house. I'll be honest.
See, you were young, but Matt and Andy, they used to play ball, every Sunday down in the flats back in Fort Dodge. And
oh yeah,
I remember them coming down, and they'd be like the only white boys on the court. in the hood.
Yeah.
I got an access to go play with the guys.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see, you know, where you guys started and where you guys are at right now. And then, you know, to grow up with you guys, to be a part of that legacy is an honor to know you guys. So
Yeah, you learned some grit in Fort Dodge. Fort Dodge
Yeah.
and Davenport, fairly similar communities, and Waterloo for that fact. You know, kind of the manufacturing type towns, and you know, that's where my mom and dad grew up, was Waterloo, Davenport, Fort Dodge. Those are some tough ass towns, and
you had to know how to fight.
yeah,
In both of those places. I lived in Waterloo.
yeah.
Waterloo was just as rough as Fort Dodge. A little bit bigger than Fort Dodge too. So
Yeah, obviously I'm not proud of it, but certainly been in a few fights in my day, and you know, but yeah, that's just part of growing up too, a little bit. You
yeah.
know? And usually you were friends with the guy not long after it. You know, it was just one of them deals you weren't going to back down.
Even your dad, you know, he had a good connection with the people in the community, like just playing his part. Like as a kid, watching him, you know, being a father figure to some of the hero legends that we looked up to, and, you know, and just seeing how he played his part and had an impact in changing people's lives, you know, for those who didn't have that father figure. So it's I think a lot of people don't know like what y'all created throughout my lifetime.
Yeah,
Pretty much, because like I said, we've been knowing each other since you've been what, 6'5"?
Probably like the mid '80s. That tells you how
Yeah.
old we are. But no, yeah, you know, my mom was the same way. You know, I can't tell you how many former players my dad coached or kids my mom taught that literally lived with us. You know,
Right.
taking kids in, and again, my dad's always been a firm believer of. I know it sounds a little corny or whatever, but that golden rule: treat people how you'd want to be treated, and but also hold them accountable, and you know, have some discipline, and you know, discipline is really a source of love, and a lot of kids need that, and sometimes coaches are scared to do it, and you can't be that way, and because I think kids are starving for it, you know, and I think that's what made my dad a success. He just had a way about him, and you know, of holding kids accountable, and they respect him, and because there's certainly been some, you know, some times where I'm like, whoa, Dad, you may cross the line, and but crazy enough as it was, you know, you'd see that kid a year later, and he'd be thanking my dad, you know. Though that's you know, it gets kids right. Sometimes you got to make tough decisions, and you know, maybe dismiss a kid from a team, but usually. You know, like I've told all these coaches, you know, I've never kicked a kid off a team. He's kicked himself off a team, you know, because of what he, you know, he's not doing the things that he's supposed to be doing. You know, being a part of a team is, you know, it's really a privilege, and you know, you can't take it for granted. So, and like I said, I think my dad was he was a master at that kind of stuff, and I was able to be around him for whatever it was, 11 years at Grandview, just seeing how he operated on a day-to-day basis, and he was brutally honest. I will say that with kids, and I think that's a you know, a skill that not many coaches have, and he had it, and he had a way about him and doing it. And again, I am who I am, you know, but certainly learned a lot from him.
He was part of the '88 basketball team when they won the state championship. So, you know, that's like the highlight of Fort Dodge, that team right there.
Me and my brother still talk about that till this day, and that's why, like Jay, that's why we all wore number 22 in basketball at some point, because of Jay Goodman. You know, he was a 5'11" white dude, and you know, he was a killer on that basketball court. And
Jay Goodman, Wade,
Jay and Wade, Tim Mosley, Mike McBride. Oh gosh, who
Chuck Clayton on there.
Mark Carlson, Charles Clayton, Richard Grady was on that team for a minute.
Richard Grady,
Corey Bogue.
Corey Silliman. No, was he on that team?
Yeah, I think he was on that team.
Corey
yeah.
Silliman.
Yeah.
Murphy Washington was on there.
Yeah. No, they were they were
They
about
had Troy Grady, Richard Grady.
Yeah, they were about 10, 11
Murphy
deep.
Washington, Wade Luckenbill. I remember that whole team like it was yesterday.
Yeah. No, I remember crying the night they lost to Waterloo East because back in the day we had to listen to it on the radio. As a matter of fact, I think my dad was doing the radio with his radio name was Tracy Joel. I don't know if you remember that name, Rob. But his name is Tracy Hoosier, but his radio name was Tracy Joel. I think it might have been his middle name. And my dad and him were doing. Tracy was doing the play-by-play, and my dad was doing the color. And I'm sitting at home because my mom never let me go on road trips for some reason. I don't know why. Now it was basketball. Football might have been a little different story, but I remember listening to that game. They lost. That was their only loss that year. The regular season was at Waterloo East, and Waterloo East was loaded. They had like three or four, Division I guys, and in high school well, they did have 3-pointers. I take that back, but it was. I want to say it was like a 98 to 96 score at East Waterloo. But of course the Dodgers rebounded from that, came back, and for the most part walked through the state tournament. And I think that title game got a little hairy, but they were that team was one of a kind. And Tom Goodman was the head coach. And I think he's taken like seven high schools to the state tournament. It was just kind of the perfect storm. So, a lot of fond memories of Dodge.
It's been definitely a hell of a ride, I tell you that.
Still going, man.
Still going.
It ain't over.
So where you see yourself here 5 years down the road? NFL?
No, I got.
Would you take an offer though if it came to you, right?
I get that question a lot, and I try not to look any further than the end of my nose. That was one of Dad's sayings, and you got to take care of what's in front of you right now, and it's not that I'm looking for opportunities, but opportunities will come if you take care of what's right in front of you, and that's the plan. We got plenty of challenges here at Drake, and I'm looking forward to to meeting those challenges and maybe turn Drake into something that they've never been, and just again, try and leave it better than the way you found it. So that's the plan for right now. But I've never put a target or anything on my profession. I get to coach a kid's game every day for a living, so that's good enough for me, and wherever that leads me, that's enough for me. So.